Alright, so this is going to be part 3. We're going to be focusing on detail work and making it look a little bit better. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the world color to be darker. We're working in a lot of really light silhouettes right now, and it just becomes a lot easier to see things with a dark background. And so I'm going to change that to something warm colored. And I'm going to, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work on his mane. So the simplest way I found how to do this was to just go into object mode and add a UV sphere with 8 segments. Okay. The reason I'm doing this is because I want to be able to cut it in half with the mirror modifier without it messing up any of my geometry. And as you can see, there's a nice halfway mark right there. So let's add a shadeless modifier, something off-white, just like his mane. And we're going to go ahead and go into edit mode. We're going to get rid of half of it. We're going to add our mirror modifier, add clipping, make sure the two halves are connected. And then I'm going to press Shift-D and move a copy of it down here. Make it a little bit bigger. So right now I'm just going for getting the very basic shape of the mane, just so that it kind of looks like it if it didn't have any floof and it was just a puff. If that makes sense. I'm going to be using the proportional editing tool, which you can access by pressing O. And you'll know it's there when you get this circle that shows up here. You can change the size of your proportional editing by using the mouse wheel. What this essentially does is it allows you to modify the planes in a rather organic way, as if you were pulling on like gum or something like of that nature. So it's not just like affecting the one vertex, it's affecting everything proportionally. You can turn that off by pressing O, but I'm going to be working with that right now. I'm going to go into vertex mode and I'm going to select the planes so that they kind of match the silhouette. We're just going for general here. We're going to try and make our lives easy so we don't have to modify everything. So I'm going to go ahead and move these into place. Take all of that and move it all here. You got to be a little careful with the proportional editing though, because it can go a little crazy. I'm keeping in mind how these are going to be extruded. For instance, there's a plane here. I'm going to make sure that it can be extruded into a floof. Same thing with here. You want to just like keep that in mind to save yourself some work later. I'm going to turn off proportional editing by pressing O, and I'm going to just kind of move the rest of these into place so that they feel right. I'm just going to move this whole line up. And move that down, and we're getting there. You can kind of see that it's going on. We got ourselves like a snow dog right now. He's on his way, but not quite. We're going to want to keep an eye on the silhouette. Always is the most important thing. I maintain that it's always going to be most important no matter what you're making, that you should always pay close attention to the silhouette, because that's the first thing someone notices right off the bat is the shape. Okay, so now that it's relatively in place, it's getting there. We're going to go to front view and do the same thing. I'm going to turn proportional editing back on. There we go. And I'm going to kind of match it. It goes out a bit further here than it does here. I'm going to make this a bit smaller because it's kind of getting in the way. Let's look at this from the front. Move that here. And then with this, move that down a little bit. I'm actually going to move the outside of it in because there's going to be a little bit of floof. It's down. And then just very generally match whatever shape you see. And make sure that it looks good. Once you feel like, you know, that's that's alright. Then you can kind of move on. Okay, and then I'm going to go back into Arcanine, and I'm going to change the color of his face, just so it's not so hard to see. I'm actually going to turn off proportional editing and move these into place. These are going to be used a little bit later, but they're going to help us distinguish his face from his body. I'm going to go ahead and leave that. Okay, so now I'm going to color these planes orange. I'm going to add a shadeless material. I'm going to go back into the sphere and copy the hex value and put it down here to make sure the colors are the same. And then I'm going to select. You can actually, if you press Control I, it selects everything else, which I don't want everything else. So I'm going to actually get rid of some of this. Right there. We're going to make this white. Okay, so very hard to see now, but we'll get there. Alright, so you're going to go back into your main, and you're going to work on shaping now. This part's going to be a little time consuming, but it'll be worth it, I promise. Push this down. So the essential method here is to grab a plane, extrude, and make it smaller. If you want to make the plane look rounder, which I am going to, you don't have to if you want to save on space, you can add an edge loop. And some of that. And there, by magic, we have a floof. So now I'm going to go here, go to this plane. You gotta remember that it's also mirroring it. So we'll have to think about that when we're done here. Won't worry about it for now. We're gonna have that happen. I'm actually gonna turn off clipping. Turn that off and then extrude so we can get two distinct floofs right there. I'm just gonna leave this for now. For now, it's gonna be just four-sided. Okay, I'm gonna turn clipping back on. And then I'm going to use just a little bit more. Alright, so now I'm going to take maybe, actually I'm going to move this whole thing forward. No, I'm not. I'm going to take this plane, make it smaller. I take this plane, I'm going to make it small, take this edge loop, move it in a little, move this in, I'm going to move this up, I want to make sure we match the floof, move that in place there. And then we're going to do the same thing with this one up here. Just move it in, make it smaller, grab it and rotate. And this way, your main kind of keeps, actually. Your main keeps its four-sided polygon so you don't get any weirdness. It's a pretty decent way to make the main. I'm enjoying it. Alright, and so as you can see, we're starting to get some real floof here. It's still a little sharp. If you want to make it even more round, you'll have to go in and add more edge loops. I'm going to not do that right now. Just so you know, that is an option. There's one more down here. I'm going to move this so I can get that square perfect. I'm going to go back into front view and extrude. going to save, extrude once more here. You don't always have to be totally faithful to the concept art. I would recommend it. I also don't follow my own recommendations all the time, so see what works in the moment. Okay, and then there is going to be another floof here. So I'm going to extrude that, make that small. Check it. Starting to disappear into him a little bit, so we're going to want to make sure that's not happening. It looks like this edge here, I can just double tap it to bring it a bit closer. And so there you go, that's there. I gotta admit, figuring out a way to make this mane was way harder than I thought it would be. But I hope this method works out for you guys. I'm going to add an edge loop here just to make this a little floofier. Apologize if I keep saying the word floof. Okay, then extrude that. And let's see how we're doing. Alright, I'm going to skip forward a little bit with this. You can still follow along, it will just be a bit faster, so see you in a sec. Now I'm going to move the floof so that it is not intersecting with Arcanine's eye. I'm going to do the face floof separately, I think, because it's going to be a little bit more complex than this. Right now it's just kind of getting in the way. So I'm going to move this back. Okay, so from this point I'm going to keep the floof as it is. And we will go back to it. It's a little angular right now, but we'll fix that in a bit. Now I'm going to go back into Arcanine, and I'm going to start fixing up his head a bit more. For now, I'm going to move this forward. What I'm trying to do here is I'm going to extrude the ear. So I'm trying to create a little extrusion place for the ear. And then you're going to want to, as usual, match it up where you think the ear would be. You're going to want to like rotate it. Before you start adding details, you're going to want to rotate and make sure that it's facing the right way so you don't have to rotate a bunch of extra loops. And then we'll add one in the middle, increase the size of the ear a little bit. And then I'm going to do that, add one more. And I might even add one more here. Kind of got mousy ears, doesn't he? Okay, and now we're going to check it from this side, and we're going to see that it's facing the wrong direction, which is, you know, most of my job is fixing things that are facing the wrong way. So we're going to go into here and change this color first. Let the ear is all the right color. I'm going to change this to white. And we're going to select the ear. And we're going to rotate it on Z. And just move it back. Easy peasy. And I'm going to actually make it a bit larger on the Z, a little bit less wide on the Y, just so it's a bit more round. And there we go. Okay, so from the side it looks pretty good. I'm going to move this up a little bit so you can see a more distinct difference. Make sure this matches just a little bit better. And then from the front, move this a little bit. So from the front, it looks pretty good, and from the side, it now looks good. And now we're going to, let's see, do I want to get into the face right now? I would say yes. Let's go ahead and get into the face. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is bring out the knife tool. I'm going to continue this cut here. And I'm going to actually add an edge loop. Does that go out through? Yeah, it goes throughout the whole body. Okay, so for now I'm going to hide the mane. It's kind of in my way. And I'm going to add an edge loop starting from here. Excuse me, I'm going to add a nice cut starting from here. I'm going to go all the way until here. And I'm going to end it so that I only have 3-sided polys and 4-sided polys. And you want to have as few of the 4-sided polys as you can. I've learned that over time. It deforms animations in strange ways. So I'm going to alt select these verts here. And I'm going to double click G, move it back a little. I'm going to alt select these, and I'm going to pull them out. And the reason I'm doing this is, you can't really see it right now, but it adds a little bit of thickness here that wasn't there before. Boy, he looks silly, doesn't he? Got some flappy ears. Okay. So we've got that going on. Doesn't make a huge amount of difference from the front, but it will be noticeable. And from here, I'm going to add the nose. So it occurs to me that his muzzle is kind of downward facing. So I'm going to rotate it on X and bring it up a little. Actually, I'm gonna, extrude here. Bring this forward. Bring this down a little. Actually gonna make this just a little bit longer. Bring this forward. Sort of bring this to where the chin would end. And where our spheres go. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay. Thankfully, you can still see the sphere over here, so you can check how your silhouette's going, even though you can't see it here. I'm going to push these two in here. Maybe just a little bit. And as you can see, the nose is way too wide. You can also see I modeled it too high on the... Actually, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut in. of a mistake here, and I made the nose just a little bit too high in the image, so I'm just going to move it down a little. More. Okay. I'm going to move this up. Can move this into place. I'm going to take this plane here. I'm going to extrude and go in for the nostril, and we'll make it like that. I'm actually going to color the nose right now, just so I can see how its silhouette is doing. It looks like it's somewhat of a purplish. I'm going to go ahead and name these. Arcanine's nose. Okay. A little bit more red. Yeah, okay. So we've got that going on. This way down here. And make one more dark material for Arcanine nostril. There we go. So that's starting to come into form now. A bit of a longer nostril. It's still big because you can't really see it if it's too small, and especially if your character is going to be seen from a distance. You want to make sure your details aren't too small unless it's an up-close game. I'm going to move this here so we can start to see where the mouth will be. Okay, and so this looks pretty good from the side. I think a bit whiter. Okay, so I'm going to continue doing the face in the next part, and I'll see you guys there. Thanks for watching.